Welcome to another video, and today we're going to take a look at Eco. Dying to get back to Star Citizen 3.6, but today we're going to be taking a look at Eco, the game, but mainly about what makes a good server. So if you're not familiar with Eco, in short, the game is, you get some primitive tools.
You're asking me to work with equipment which is hardly very far ahead of stone knives and bearskin.
You build stuff. You make stuff. You buy and sell things. You progress through a technical tree. You get better at your skills. You build better stuff. And as part of the built-in game design, you try to eventually get technology to destroy a meteor before it impacts and destroys your planet.
In that case, everyone on this planet will die.
But there's a lot more to this game than just that. In fact, the server administrators have the option to eliminate the meteor altogether. Now, it is probably nice to have the meteor play through at least once or twice. You get to experience that, but I've actually found it can be a little bit depressing. You spend all this time and effort into a game to build all these things in advance, only to have the server reset after the meteor is destroyed. So, here's some key things about what I think makes a really good Eco server, and particularly for long-term play. So one of the key features that I really like in a server, almost any server, is people. Lots of activity. This is a multiplayer game, but it's not a competitive game where you're attacking each other. It's a cooperative game. So having lots of people means there's lots of interaction. And I really like the economic and trade aspect of the game. Not so much the meteor destruction. So having lots of people and lots of interaction means a lot of trade, and that's something I definitely want to look for in a good server. Server I'm in right now, I'll give it a little bit of a shill right here, is the Dad Speed server. And so there's actually usually quite a few people online at any given time. It's been up and running now over 45 days, I think, and there's still a lot of activity, and there's still new people joining and can contribute to this game without feeling left behind in terms of the skill trees and advancement. And that new influx of players has actually made the game even great. So we've got a lot of the original players, plus new people being added all the time. This is a really great server for activity and people. Now, one of the key things about having new people being able to join and contribute is the slow progression. Whoever sets up the server can set the skill points to be accumulated, which is the ability to learn new skills and do new kinds of work. They can set that to be as quick or as slow as they want. Now, this particular server has set up to be very slow progression, which means you rely on other people to gain skills to be able to do all the things that you want to do, which encourages that trade that I talked about and the activity. So new people can join and not feel left behind because there's always room for another person with another skill. And even if there's already one or two people already doing that skill in the server, that's fine. There's always room for another person because not everyone is online all the time. So it's great. The slow progression gives you time also to build really cool things. Not only the trade, a big part of this game, it's kind of a builder game, so you get to build things. So I like the slow progression server that forces you to interact with other people, get some trade and that sort of thing going on, and to stretch things out, give you time to build your good stuff. Now, going along with that slow progression is also no meteor in this particular case. There's no particular end point at which, okay, we've succeeded, we've knocked down the meteor, now we're done. This is just, that just kind of puts an end to the game, whereas normally most servers end after about 30 days, that's kind of the default. We're on day 45 and we're just really getting rolling with the game and starting to get into some of the really good builds and really good materials to be able to use. We're making our own gameplay, which leads to another aspect of a good server. Now, this is hard to predict when you're actually just looking on the outside, but a good server seems to really encourage that open sandbox nature of the game. We've got some really interesting things going on with this server that aren't at all built in as part of the game. We've got one person buying and selling real estate. You get a little starter home or a little starter shop to be able to come in if you're new on the server. And they build these things near the downtown area where a lot of the commerce and trading is happening. So you could have your main base farther away, but your downtown store, and you can buy that from this person dealing in real estate. I've set up a little bit of a construction and dirt removal business. People hire me to clear and level their plot, or to actually just create, for instance, a sort of tier 2 building that they want of some specific size, and I contract that out and do it for them while they're busy doing other things. We've got a mountain of pollution that we've turned into a national monument, and we're actually having a lot of fun with that. It's become a central focal point for a couple of the players. The government has government-sponsored programs, and you can create your own lore in here. And all that just happens with the longer, slower progression server and the no Meteor. It allows you to just really expand and explore different types of gameplay in the open sandbox. And the last thing I wanted to mention here, this is almost more of a game culture thing amongst the players themselves. This is the lack of greed. So in a lot of other servers, I've seen the idea, particularly behind the economic ones, is to get as much as you can for yourself. It's all about what you can build and get and hoard. This server has actually worked really well with a very different principle, and it's, what can I give? There's a mechanic going on here where people will actually build and trade, and not necessarily to make a profit. Many of them do it, particularly with the lower tier items, just to break even, or perhaps even make a little bit of a loss, thinking that they'll make that up with some of their higher tier items and more expensive items. This keeps the money flowing around amongst all the players and keeps just one or two people or a handful of folks from hoarding all the cash.
I expect to be well paid. I'm in it for the money.
We all try to keep something that we're buying on the market as well as something we're selling on the market. And if we're buying raw materials at a lower or sort of a loss than for what we're selling them at, then this allows new players to actually come in, sell logs and stone and various things like that, and then be able to buy back materials made from that at cheaper than it would cost them to make it themselves. So there's always something again for the new players to do, which feeds all the way back into that first thing about having lots of people and encouraging new players. Nothing's worse for a new player than joining a server and then not being able to progress or do anything because you don't have any money and you can't afford anything and no one's selling, that is, no one's buying the things that you can harvest or get to start with. Greed actually kills a server. So try to encourage an atmosphere of no greed and sharing. Sell some things for a loss and other things for a profit. That whole structure just seems to work better. So take a look at the game. It's very fun and very addictive. I haven't even gone over all the features and different kinds of things with government laws and things like that that you can do. Feel free to leave comments below. I'll be curious about what other people think makes a good eco server. If you liked what you saw here, hit the like button, and I'll be talking to you later.